Hey everybody, today we're going to start with slope-intercept form. Um, this is one of my favorites, but I think it's all my favorites, so let's just go ahead and get started. Linear functions give us two very important pieces of information. Linear functions tell us the slope of a line, and we know slope is rise over run, okay? And then it gives us the y-intercept. And this is where the line intersects or crosses the, ran out of line, y-axis. Not the x, but the y. Wherever that line crosses the y-axis, that is your y-intercept. Okay. So we can use the slope and the y-intercept, if we know them, to write an equation of a line. Now this is called slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Now the y is always going to be there, equals is always going to be there. This guy, the m, that is your slope. So when you see an equation in that format, you know that whatever the coefficient to the x is your slope. Then this number right back here is your y-intercept, okay? So whatever this is, including its sign, positive or negative, is where the line crosses the y-axis, all right? So let's do some examples. First of all, I'm going to find the slope, and I do that by starting from the left and finding my point. I see that right there. And then I'm going to decide to reach the next point on the line. Do I need to go down and over? Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I think we're going to have to go up and over. So let's count that slope, starting from the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3 over 2, and write down exactly what you say. I said 3 over 2. If I had had to count down, I would have said -3, but I didn't. I counted up. So my y-intercept just happens to be right here, and that is -1. So I'm going to write it in slope-intercept form. The way I like to do it is I always give myself a pattern to follow. Y equals slope x plus or minus my y-intercept b. So let's start there. Y equals, and what did we count our slope to be? 3 over 2. 3 over 2 x, and our y-intercept was a -1. So that is the equation for that line. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 1. Let's try another. Now, again, this time we don't have points on the line, so I'm going to go ahead and make them myself. And I'm going to show you how I do it. I start at the left, move over to my line, and say, okay, where's my first integral coordinate? That means where's my first point that's right on a corner of a box? Well, it happens to be that one. Then I'm going to follow my line down until I hit the next corner, which just so happens to be there. Okay? So to count my slope, I'm going to start at this left point, and I'm going to go up or down. If I go up and over, that's not going to help me. I'm not going to get to my next point. So I'm going to have to go down. -1, -2 over 1. So the slope is -2 over 1. Now, I prefer always to write my slope in fraction form, but on a test or an activity, you may see this slope written as just a -2, because of course, -2 divided by 1 is -2. Now let's keep going and find our y-intercept. Well, it happens to be right here, one of my points, and that is 1. So the line crossed the y-axis at 1, which is then my y-intercept. Just like I told you, I always give myself a pattern to follow. So y equals mx plus b. I know my y and my equal is going to be there. M is my slope, so I'm just going to bring down that negative 2x, and then my y-intercept is a positive 1. So the line that you see right here is y equals negative 2x plus 1. Now, if we saw you write y equals negative 2 over 1x plus 1, we would not count that as wrong. But just know that on a test or something like this, you are most likely going to see this version. Okay? Let's try and see what we have next. All right, this says graph the line represented by this equation. So this time you'll notice we are given the equation and we have to use what we know to graph the line. All right, so again, I'm going to say, all right, if I'm looking at this equation, my slope has to be right before that x, and it is a positive 1/2. And notice there is absolutely nothing back here. So that doesn't mean that we don't have a y-intercept. It just means that your y-intercept is equal to 0. That means this line is going to go straight through your origin. When graphing points, always start with your y-intercept, okay, or when graphing a line. So my y-intercept is 0. I'm going to put a point right there. Then I'm going to count my slope. My slope is positive, so that means I'm going up before I go right. I'm going to go up 1 over 2. And if I connected that, which I will not do, that would be the graph of your line. Actually, maybe I should connect it. Let me go ahead and use my line tool, because I know if I try to draw it, this will never happen. Whee, that's not right. Let me try again. Hold on. Okay, so let me figure this out. You ready? There we go. There's my line. So those 2 points, that's the line, and the equation was y equals 1/2 x. All right, let's see what we have next. Ooh, we have another equation, and again, it's asking us to graph the line. So the first thing we're going to do is find, oops, that wasn't correct. Let me get back to a pen. We're going to find our slope. Slope does not include the x, remember that. So it's negative 2 over 3. The x is not included in the slope. And my y-intercept there is a positive 4. All right, when we start graphing, we start with the y-intercept. So I'm going to start with a y-intercept of 4, where my line crosses. 1, 2, 3, 4. So put a point right there. Then I'm going to count my slope. This is negative, so I'm going down 2 over 3. And if I wanted to keep counting, I could, but I would run out of graph here. But that's okay. We know it would be down 2 and over 3, so we'd be right around there. Let me go ahead and get my line tool and try to connect again, if I can do so neatly. Let me see. That's a little bit off, so let me try again. Lordy, I wish I could get better at just getting these right the first time, but that's all right. Mistakes happen. It's okay. There you go. So there's the line going through those 2 points, and that was y equals negative 2 over 3, x plus 4. Okay, do we have more? Ah, we do. Excellent. So we're going to go a little faster here, but again, I forgot to change back to my pen. This is the slope negative 3, but remember, our slopes are fractions. So if it's a negative 3, it's actually a negative 3 over 1. Okay? And my y-intercept this time is a negative 1. Again, start with your y-intercept. So I've got a negative 1, and my slope is a negative 3. So that means I go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And again, I don't connect my lines. I just look at my points. So I know that that is correct. That is y equals negative 3x minus 1. And you can imagine the line, the negative line going through those 2 points. Okay? Using the slope-intercept formula is going to be something you do for years to come in your math classes. And there's going to be a lot of ways that we teach you to interpret them. So make sure that you've really got a good grasp on how to go back and forth from a graph to an equation and from an equation to a graph. And always just ask for help if you need it. That's what we're here for.